Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Think Future podcast. I'm your host, Chris Kalabukas, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. So, a lot of us are now getting used to the work from home scenario, the stay at home scenario. And and you know what? A lot of us are having trouble doing that. And the reason why we're having trouble doing that is because of the way we've compartmentalized our life. The structures of our businesses right now are very compartmentalized. And the reason why they're so compartmentalized is because of the commute, the distance. Because we had this wall in between life and work, right? We had life on this side, and then we had work on this side, and the wall is commuting. And the commuting wall can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, depending on where you lived. And we got dressed, we got into a car, and we drove, or we got on a bus, or we got on a train, or whatever. And we had this middle wall of commuting where we mentally prepared ourselves for work. And then when we got to work, we figured our focus was work. We were going to work for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, wherever many hours we normally work for. And sure, we'll take breaks here and there. But our main focus, our main priority while we were at work, while we were physically at work, was to work. And then we would finish work. We'd get in our cars or in our trains or whatever, our buses, go through that wall again, and we'd end up at home. And then we could have our life. So we had life on one side, work on the other. And this wall is gone. This wall is gone. Now, if you think about it, that's actually a pretty excellent thing. Isn't it great that we don't have to get in cars or get on trains or get on buses and go from point A to point B? Well, for those of you who don't have a job, that's not so great, but there's plenty of people who are still able to work at home. You're able to work at home right now. A lot of you who are listening to this right now are able to work at home. You're still working. You're a technologist or you're a software developer or whatever. You're still working, but you're at home. And a lot of times people have trouble with work-life balance when they're at home. And the reason why you have work-life balance issues when you're at home, because work was this monolithic thing that you did when you were at the office, right? When you were at the office, you worked. And when you were not at the office, you didn't work. Well, sometimes you did. Depends if you were a workaholic or there was something serious going on that you really had to deal with. But most of the time we did this monolithic work at work thing. And what we've done now is, now that this barrier is down, now that this wall has collapsed, now that we don't longer have to commute anymore, we take this monolithic block of work and we bring it home. And when we take this monolithic block and bring it home, we can either sort of build a physical differentiator between home and work by having like an office that you go to and you say, okay, I'm going to close my door and I'm going to work, and then I'm going to go back out at the end of the day. But I think a lot of people don't want to do that, or they don't have space, and they feel like work is impinging upon their lives, and they feel like they're working all the time. And I think the reason for that is that they're still feeling that work is this monolithic thing that they have to do in blocks, a giant block, 8-hour block of work. But the reality is it's not really an 8-hour block of work. It really is sort of like a cube. Think of it as a cube made out of Lego blocks, right? So imagine it, instead of imagining it like a Borg cube, which is like one giant 32-mile cube, which doesn't break apart, imagine it as a cube made out of Lego blocks. Your work is Lego blocks. So when you take it home, you don't necessarily need to do it all at once. You could break off a brick or two or three or four or five, do that work, and then stop and go do something else. Go have a coffee. Go to the store. Go play with your kids, whatever. Work isn't monolithic anymore. It's atomized, or you can choose to atomize it. And if you choose to atomize your work, then you'll probably be able to get a better handle on your life. And the reason why you can do this is now this wall is down. This wall no longer exists. And if there's anything we can learn from this crisis, is that we didn't really need this wall. A lot of us didn't really need this wall, right? And if you look, there's countless stories out there talking about how much better off the earth is because we're not out there commuting all the time. Even if you took everybody who had to, let's say the crisis is over, even if you took everybody who had to commute and put them back on the roads, they'd still be a lot quieter. There still wouldn't be all that much traffic. We'd still do much less environmental damage. Just think of it that way. I see what I'm hoping that is going to happen out of this is that all of these companies, especially here in the Bay Area where you have all these technologists who are told, oh, you got to come in, you got to be collaborative, you got to work face to face. They realize that they can continue doing business with their people mostly at home. I mean, my hope is we're going to get to a point where instead of you having to maybe work from home 1 day a week, you actually work from home 4 or 5 days a week and maybe even go into the office once a month if you even need to at all. Sure, that's a huge disruption. Who knows what will happen to office space? Who knows what will happen to cars, to auto repair, to gas stations, etc. It's a huge change, but I think it's long overdue. We've been stuck in this monolithic work, commute, life thing for way too long. And we need to get over it and go on to the next step. That's it for me for today. See you next time. And until then, don't forget to think future.